Let me just go ahead and check on YouTube that I'm audible, that everything works okay. It has been a while. Thank you. Yeah, okay, good. Audio is good. Everything is good. Let me know if you run into any trouble hearing me, seeing me, anything. Thank you so much for being here. Much appreciated. Um, Sorry for disappearing for a while. Has been a rough time. But I really appreciate you sticking around, watching the videos, and commenting and sending me so many kind messages and emails. I would like today to focus on drawing animals. I think it will be fun. I'm going to read your messages in a second, but it's something that I've been doing for in the last couple of weeks. A lot of just drawing digitally and focusing on gestures and capturing the shape accurately. And most of you are probably, just more in the watercolor realm than purely drawing per se. But I think and I think this could be a great way to improve the structure that you're going to paint based on. And I'm a big fan lately of painting with no pencil lines at all. So it's interesting to see how, when it comes to, still putting something on paper, even if it's minimal, I find these to be very useful. So let's see who is here. Brazen Spirituality. Seems like you were indeed first. Thank you so much. RK Feb Art, thank you for being here. Hey J Boo, hope you're doing well. Hey Tiny Face McGee, or hi from Maine. Maine is beautiful. Thank you for being here. Lisa from Idaho, thank you so much for being here. Snow painting. I can definitely do that. Yes, we'll do one soon. I had a few, but they're a little old now, and I think have improved since. Um, Kind of excited for today to be even a small live stream. Small attendance is good. It was kind of a last minute thing, so sorry about that. Hey Steven, how are you doing? Steve, sorry, yeah, it says Steven, but I remember Steve from London. I hope you're doing well. Very happy that you like this topic. Hey Brenda from Australia. Hey Hillel, how are you? Hey Tessie, good morning from Massachusetts. Cool, thank you so much for being here. Hey Christina, thank you so much as well. Big inspiration, our drawing lessons for this one. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with drawing, and I think it's a good topic to tackle. So it's gonna be the same format, kind of that we've been doing it. Hey John, thank you so much. Good to see you here as well. Hey Pooja or Pooja, I'm not sure. Let me know how it's pronounced. Thank you so much. Here from India is joining us. Thank you so much. Champagner, hello from Olive Bridge, New York. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much for being here. How do you draw dogs? You must be tearing your hair out from dog drawing by now. Hey Swad from Algeria, thank you for being here. Hey, hope you're doing well. Hey Pat, good morning from Ontario. Hey Jill, how are you doing? Yeah, it's been a while. So let's get to it, and then I can look at some more of your messages. Main, yes, indeed. Um, so let's get to it. We have this first one here, a tiger. I think it'll be fun. Um, I have many ways of doing this, and let me also. Oh, Sandra from Portugal, thank you so much for being here as well. Shravi, hey, good evening. Cynthia, Brigantine, New Jersey, thank you so much for being here. So let's go ahead and do this, I think. So yeah, my face is small, but you can see what I'm doing. And feel free to send messages, ask questions. I'm going to be looking at them. It's sketching like this is a little less demanding than watercolor painting, not so much about the timing, so that makes it a whole lot easier. So feel free to ask any questions you may have that may arise. So one thing that I've been talking to you a lot about is the big shapes and getting the big shapes in. And I think this is a great example of, yet again, how getting the big shapes in can be quite useful, just making things easier. Because if we start with the smallest details like the face, we may get lost in all the details. So to me, what I'm seeing here is just some proportions right out the gate. One thing I'm seeing is, if we look at the entire body, this point here that is pretty prominent because it's the front part of the body is around the middle, a little to the left, right? So the middle would be somewhere around here. So that could be a useful proportion. I'm also looking at the shape of the head and how it relates to the rest of the body. Um, I'm trying to see things in terms of the shapes, just like watercolor. So we get, for example, this shape for the entire body. That's pretty much it. We get this for the hind leg. And then I'm also trying to simplify the contours. So I'm not seeing yet all of these different variations and curves. What I'm seeing is more of the overall thing. And then once we have that overall thing, we can start breaking it off into different angles, gestures, and so on. So we're going to start. To me, I like to start with creating some kind of an envelope almost that will help me get the proportions as accurate as possible. So let me zoom out just a little bit so we have more space to the right. Yes. And so what I'm seeing here is I'm going to do something interesting. I'm actually going to start with the center line here. I'm probably going to sketch it a little smaller. So I'm going to start with this line. And then from here, I can create almost a circle for the head. Now, if you look at the head and you look at this entire length, it's a little under the halfway point as well. So if that's the halfway, we're going to have the head come down to here. And then I can almost create a just circle based on that. It's not going to be the most accurate necessarily, but we'll adjust it as we move along. Now, I do want to make this a little smaller. Will be, oh yeah, I'm drawing on the same layer, which isn't smart. Let me get this, Control X, Control V, and then I can just make the tiger a little smaller there, make more room. There we go. So from here, look at the entire shape of the hands, or the front legs rather. I like to treat them as hands. We have a line coming out here, approximately, I would say, same length as the face. So to me, that's very useful. And then the two paws, and then this kind of a curve connects us. And with very simple shapes, we can start creating some proportions, right? We may be off by a bit, but that's a good way of going about it. And we will take a break after this one. We'll read your chat. It has been a while, I know, and I do want us to chat a bit, but we have moved also, so the new background. There's a lot of updates, but I'm trying to get maybe one demo in, and then we'll do that. Now, as for the rest of the body, I could probably frame it in one go, so maybe something like this, representing this entire thing. When I put in these lines, it looks like maybe I'm not measuring, but what measures is my experience in throwing gestural lines. So one thing to pay attention to is you don't, exaggerate the proportions a bit. It's very natural for people to stretch the shape of the body and forget about foreshortening. So one thing that can help is finding another place to relate things to. So for example, this point right here and this point right here, how do these two relate? If I pass a line through there, what angle is that line going to have? So I can do the same here and discover that approximately here, it's not super duper accurate, but it is getting there. Maybe even I would say closer. I would say around here even is where that hind leg is going to show up. So then we'll get this kind of a thing going on. I think it would be even better to represent it with a rounded line, like so. And then here's where the body lies. And it's going to make a lot more sense in a few seconds once we get some more details in. And then we have the tail that we kind of barely see any of. So now that we have a framework, something to work with, we can start building on it with some details. So I'm going to show you one way of how I'll establish the front of the body is I'm going to look for the next big shape. To me, that would be the division between the two legs. So coming out from approximately the center of the face is where we start seeing this division. And then this paw goes pretty much all the way to here. And then maybe stretches a little to the back. Probably a little too long. Let me get that again, because I already put in the envelope and then I didn't follow it. So we have this kind of a shape here. And then if that's the edge of the paw, I can start indicating it now. Something like this. Yeah, that looks good, and then round it a bit. I think it should even be thicker, so I'll go around here. Now that's better. And then the other one, notice there's a flat line here, and that's resting almost um, on the tree or whatever that is there. And then we have this kind of crease leading in the same direction as the first one we placed. And within the shape, the frame we already built, it's much, much easier to place that other paw that is almost facing towards us. So if you look at these paws as a three-dimensional object, which usually helps. So this one is something like this, where you're seeing it's, and now we're doing a bit of construction on the side, right side here, right, the inner side. And this one, we're seeing the front mostly. So it's going to be something like this. And if you can understand how they're oriented in space, it can really help representing them. Um, and then we can start basically building on top of what we have. But let's take a moment here and look at some of your messages, and then we can continue. We already have two paws, some details. It's interesting. So let's see. There isn't, I think, too much. We have Massimo here from Milano. Thank you for being here. Melanie, hello, Liron. Wonderful to see you. Thank you so much, Melanie, for being here. Fernando from Brazil. Thank you for being here, my friend. Shravi freehand over proportions. Yes, I'm gonna try and maybe show you the next example, something that is a little more calculated. I'll show you the proportions first and then how I get the line to match them. A lot of it is figuring out the proportions and then placing the line in a way that will match what I kind of figured out where it should be. I'll show you a bit of that. Pam, thank you so much for being here. Finally made it. I've been gone for a while from live stream, so it's not your fault. Nancy, hey, how are you doing? It's freezing cold there, right? Banani, how are you, my friend? Hey, from Belgium. Thank you for picking this subject. I like to draw animals. As always, your tips are super helpful. Thank you so much. Cheeseburger is here. Hi there, and I love your drawing books. They helped me a lot. Oh, thank you so, so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a while since I published a new book. Maybe the next one will be on painting and watercolor. Who knows? Envy. Hi, Nico from. Oh, you said Nico. Nico from how do you pronounce that? I want to pronounce it like an Italian would, but in any case, Udine, Udine, Udine. Let me know from Italy. Thank you for being here. Beautiful Italy. I like to draw big bucks. Yep, yep, they're fun. We're gonna have like a deer. I don't know if you'd call that a buck, but we'll see. In Shravi, yes, indeed, we did some construction. So let's now tackle the head. The tiniest. So one thing we can. Okay, we're back. I think it's good. I don't know what happened. Thank you, Tambo Artwork. Thank you so much. Let me know if you can hear me again. It looks like the connection dropped there for a second, but I think we're good now. Actually, I can test it out on my own. Let's see here. Okay, we're good. I have a much better setup now with the mic. It's much more comfortable. So the head is under there. It's almost contained within. So that the size of the head is actually going to be something like that. And it is almost like a trapezoid or a shape that has 6 sides to it. How much is that? I'm not sure. Let me know how I not a hexagon? Hexa? I don't know. Let me know. Good. Happy you can hear me. Yeah, I don't know why it dropped for a second there, but I'm going to clean it up a bit. So yeah, we have the center line of the face. Now look at this. The shape of the face is very interesting. It goes like this, almost bumps out, where the tip of it is where the nose is. And the nose, like dogs and other animals, the nose is the tipping point where the plane of the face turns from the top plane, if you imagine this as a box, into the side plane. Maybe you can see it now as I draw on it. If you are able to see things in this manner, it can really, really help. See, the shape can almost be trapped within a three-dimensional shape, and the nose tends to be at a point where it's half on the top plane, half on the front plane. So it's just an interesting way of seeing it. I've just drawn so many of these now that I kind of remember. I don't have any method for drawing animal faces like the Loomis method. I usually go by my kind of intuition. But just generally speaking, that's a thing I observed on my own. So then we have this kind of the area under the nose. And if we do want to construct the shape of the head a little more accurately, we're going to have an ear somewhere around here. Then if we find it on the other side, it's going to be somewhere around there. And then this rounded shape. Sometimes clarity is even more important than accuracy. So when I'm doing these lines, I am trying to at least have some clarity to them so that the person looking at it knows what they're looking at. It really is almost more important than being accurate sometimes. Um, and then the mouth. So instead of just starting to draw the teeth and the details, I'm going to do the exact same thing I did so far. So I already know where this point is of the teeth, right? It's somewhere around here on this part of the nose. And let me zoom in case you're having trouble. It's here. So what I'm going to do is find the other end of the mouth and treat that too like a three-dimensional structure. So this is all in the same plane. So you can almost look at it as a cone, or rather a pyramid shape. So let's see how we can do that. So this is one tooth, that's the other one. And if I follow the same angle, I'm going to find the other side of the mouth somewhere around here. The bottom jaw, perhaps, right? And just to help myself here, I can move this a little closer and actually zoom in a bit. So just to make it a little easier. There we go. So then we have the bottom of the mouth, and I can clean some guidelines here if I want to. Right, I hope that makes sense. Hexagon. Okay, yeah, hexagon. Cool. Perfect. I never know, like a tetra thing is 5, right? Tetra is 5, I think. And then the rest of the mouth goes here. But what happens is actually this is more narrow. Bottom is more narrow than the top. So instead of reaching this corner that we put based on the other tooth, we're going to consolidate it inwards a bit. And then on the other side, we'll get the same thing. So it kind of opens and then closes into a narrower angle. And that's, oh, did I do this on the wrong layer? I think I did, yeah. I did that one on the tiger layer. It's funny. So just getting rid of some of the guidelines there. Okay, yeah, I drew some of the mouth on the wrong layer, but that's fine. So I'm gonna have to get rid of both layers. And now, so we're done with the basic structure of the mouth. Let's get the nose in. Again, it's at this point where the front to side planes change. So that's where we're going to get the nose. We actually have this beautiful dark black pattern. And the nose does this interesting wavy thing. But here's a good example of how, again, building the big shape helps with the small shape. So the nose, if I were to draw it a little larger to the side, is something, the way I drew it is something like this, right? And once I have that in place, I can start making the shape more specific. So I can find this point and that point, with this line being a little longer than that line because it's closer to us, connect it with a smiley shape, smiley face shape, and that's the nose, right? And then maybe add the nostrils in. So making a basic structure first can really help getting those details in. Now, right now it looks a little ridiculous because there's no teeth. We'll get that sorted. So, and that's quite simple actually. So there's going to be one tooth right here, big teeth, then another one right here. Now these teeth are coming towards us, which is really cool. So again, knowing how three-dimensional structured shapes work can be very useful. So if we're looking from side view at these teeth, they're gonna look like this maybe, or very long actually, probably like this. And the more we're looking at them at an angle, right, the more flat they're gonna be, all the way till we just see a circle, basically. So this is what we have here. Actually, I don't need to delete this. How do I redo Control Y? Good. Let's bring those back. So the same thing happens here. They're pointing towards us. This one more than the other one. Now let me make the pencil a little smaller. Hey Gina, how are you doing? Good morning. Good to see you live again. Thank you so much for being here. Indeed, yes, that's how I go in the zone, and then I start noticing all these things. And I'm a little off. Like for example, Shravi, you'll notice that the mouth here touches this where it shouldn't. So you see there's a bit of a gap there that I missed. So the subtleties I am sometimes missing, but the overall thing still works, if that makes sense. It looks like a bear. Yes, definitely. Well, you don't have a nose. The thing is that a lot of the basic shapes that construct animal faces are very similar, and the difference comes in the oops, I once again drew on the wrong layer. The difference happens in the smaller details. So sometimes I can even draw a dog and it will look a little like a cat, or like a different mammal, let's say, generally speaking, because the magic is in the details. Once you start adding the pattern, once you start adding the details in, that's usually how it works. Now here it's more beneficial to just find this point, the tip of the nose, and from there it's pretty easy to place the eyes. So you'll see they're kind of on this rounded axis. um, so one eye starts approximately here, the other one's a little farther. So this is one eye, something like this. Still looks like a bear, by the way. And then the other one is around here. Now my shape may not be as accurate, but again, a lot of it comes down to the details, actually. So something like this. And the pattern, right? So once we get rid of some of these guidelines that kind of start to annoy me, things will get a little clearer. And then we can maybe indicate some patterns, though I'm not planning to go this deep into the processes, but just to show you the very basics. So we can indicate this kind of a light pattern around the eyes. You see right there. Goes like this. It's a light pattern around the nose too. And also around the nose, of course, we have these things that Ruth also has with the whiskers where they come out of. And they wrap around. This is like a ball shape. Like a ball shape, and they wrap around it. So that's one more thing to pay attention to. You can look at the general direction of the whiskers. But I think for our purposes, this is pretty much as far as I'll take it. We can also, you can start dividing the foot or feet like so. Find the general shape of the fingers. I don't know if I can call them fingers. And also find a specific curvature. So the way I like to do this, I'll just lighten up the line. And then what I'll do is start finding in the gestures within that. So it's almost like it has a bicep here, then a flat line maybe. And all of these contrasts and lines and shapes can add a lot of grace. A lot of grace to the, you see, like round, straight, different curves. The more granular you want to be, you can. You can start. I didn't even add the rest of the teeth here, but the more granular you want to be, you can be. So, for example, you can start really noticing the small shapes and how they are built. Find all the details, indicate the fur pattern. It's all a question of how much you're interested in the details, right? But talking about the general. Let me just make sure I only move the picture because I drew on this frame erroneously. So you see, the more you are able to place these elements accurately, the more convincing it's going to look. Now, of course, all of these, the patterns wrap around. So you'll get something like this, something like that. See, this pattern of, I don't know what you'd call these, just stripes, I guess. It wraps around the shape of the body parts it's in. So you see, and it's really um, helpful for the viewer to see it this way, right? Of course, you can give them some volume, right? Make them thicker. You can do whatever you want. But talking about proportions, generally speaking, this is as far as it goes, right? Get the proportions down relatively accurately. One thing I did notice, and we can mirror it to see mistakes, is that the entire mouth is way too outside. So I don't know why, maybe I moved something, but this thing should be to the left, like way more here. The teeth aren't. I don't know why I placed them this way. Honestly, I don't know if I moved it with the picture or something, or it was always there. Because this should be here. This teeth should be here. This one should be there. I don't know what happened there. Honestly, it's a bit funny. But yeah, overall structure. Hope that makes sense. Uh, but yeah, Escorbet, yeah, Liron, it definitely looks like a big cat now. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was aiming for. If it can look like that at the very least, I'm happy. Tiny face. Would you then transfer your drawing for watercolor? You wouldn't want all these lines erased on watercolor paper. Um, what do you mean by that? This is just for the pure demo. Like if I were to draw this thing for watercolor, I would draw it directly on the paper, and then I would probably paint over it. I would use probably the same amount of details, or maybe even less, a little less for watercolor, because I know the paint can do more. But even to begin with, I'd probably go for more high contrast photo where I can draw more of the anatomical shape, the shape of the light and shadow patterns. That's what I would probably do more than drawing the entirety of the anatomy. So, for example, and I'll show you an example later where it's mostly the shadow, the light and shadow, if that makes sense. Hey, Ryan. Hope you're doing well from Sarasota, Florida. Thank you for being here. Christina sure does. Yes, happy to hear. I hear a language problem, but I understand sketching process. Awesome, awesome. Yes, I'm trying to make it as understandable even without a knowledge of language as much as I can to simplify it. Um, but yeah, Tiny Face. I just noticed now you're a Psyduck. That's super cool. I thought, like, real quick peripheral vision that you're something else. Now I see it. It's funny. Um, but yeah, I don't mind some of these lines getting erased if I draw them with a very soft pencil, as long as the final impression is the way I like it. Thank you, Christina. No, definitely, I get it. A little bit, yes, looking like, but after the final outcome, must be a tiger. Indeed. Hey, TRPLD. Hello, Liron from South Korea. Thank you so much for being here. I actually have one friend from South Korea. I met him in our trip to Vietnam, so that was funny. We talked a bit, and it was a great conversation. It was really an interesting person, a professor. Um, so yeah, I can say people are super nice from over there. Um, so let's okay, I can give you a bit of an update just on our move. It's a bit of a story, but and then we'll move on to another example. We have a bunch of them. Maybe I'll let you decide which one to do. Let me just throw off at you. We have crocodile, a deer. You can see the link to reference photos in the description. A deer, a dog that has a great gesture. I think we'd want to do that as well. An owl, and that's it. So we have 5 different things to go through. Let me know if you have a preference: crocodile, deer, dog, owl. Let me know in the chat. We'll just choose one probably at random. I'm uh, I'm gearing towards the dog because there's a lot of interesting things there, but it doesn't have to be. We can do all of them too. But in terms of the move, yes, deer. I do Tiny Face McGee would want the deer. So we moved to a new place. Right now, it's like a shorter lease, I guess you'd call it, 6 months, and hopefully we'll be able to extend, but not definitely. So we may end up having to move once again, which is a nightmare. I hate moving, but yeah, we're back in Tel Aviv, which is nice. So we have 2 votes for deer, 1 for dog. The studio, by the way, is really taking shape. There's a bit more work to do, but just tiny modifications. It's pretty much it's definitely 100% ready for work. Christina, feel free to use any dog photos I sent you if you think others would enjoy the process. Oh, thank you. Yeah, didn't want to, some of them are maybe private or, but yeah, maybe we can do that. Dog and then owl, dog and owl for me. Okay, so it's all even. So every animal except the crocodile have been mentioned, which is funny enough. We'll do all of them. The deer has an interesting light and shadow to it, so 2 votes for deer, 3 for dog, an otter. I can do an otter if you want to. Let me find one for later so that I don't forget. Otters are fun. Uh, Otter. Okay, we'll go with the dog because I do see it got the most votes, and then we'll go with the deer, and then we'll go with the otter, maybe. So okay, we can use the same piece of paper here. Paper. So let me get this doggo. So it's running, which is really neat. It gives us a lot to work with in terms of gestures. My mouse is freaking out. Sorry about that. I don't know what's up. Maybe it's because there's the pen too. Maybe I'll just use the pen. That's it. Okay. So the dog gives us a lot to work with, actually, because there's so much movement and gesture there. So if you're a beginner, that's exactly the kind of thing I would recommend you do. So just off the top of my head, without even being as accurate, I want to show you some of the things here. So we have this beautiful, again, the head is kind of off center. So we have this beautiful, actually, this is a vertical line for the head. I can just go for it, let's just go for it. So I'm starting with the head. So this is a vertical line almost. So I'm going to drop a vertical, get this kind of a line, and then do this. So that gives me the head. Now look at what happens here. The entire front of the body is just telling us exactly how it wants to be drawn, because we have this line coming out from the head, or almost we can see a bit of the back there, kind of like this. And then look at what happens. So here's how I measure. I look at this, I'm looking for this spot. So what I'm doing is I'm thinking, okay, what's the angle from the nose? And it's about here. And then I triangulate with these 2 points and just go like this. So then I get a little more accuracy that way, because I know I also have this gesture and that gesture from both points, that I can get rid of this guideline if I don't need it. And one more thing to always look for is top to bottom. Is there if you drop plumb lines, vertical or horizontal, do things intersect? So for example, this area intersects pretty much with the right side of the head here. Pretty much the same thing happens here. Okay, so just an example. I think this should be a little lower, but that's fine. The ears, just for fun, you can place those. And again, these are almost representations. Of course, it's not going to be super duper accurate. It's just a placement of stuff. But look at this line here. We can get the entire leg there, and we have the 2 legs. This is how they relate, with a bit of an angled line. So if we get that angled line in, it can really help us drop this other line right there. And then for gestures, this line may also go like this, but look at what I'm doing. I'm reversing it to make it more interesting. So we have one line going this way, another going that way. Or maybe I'll use a straight line, but I like varying it a bit. Now, this distance, for example, we can measure it. We can find it. So let's see what it is like. It is like the head. So it should end around here. So that's where the other leg reaches. Okay. Now, once I'm done with the overall gesture, I'll go back in and modify this line. You see, because right now I did this, but we do have a muscle here. We do have some masses there. Those are things we'll do afterwards. But first, let's get the main proportions in. And the way to do that is always look for things to relate it to. A lot of drawing accurately is about actually looking at the proportions and not being lazy or scared to look for relations. And even if your lines aren't beautiful or aren't really straight lines, if you get the correct proportions, it will still make sense. And a lot of and that's way more than good enough, and a lot of the grace that comes later comes from experience. So after a while of doing it, you'll be making more graceful lines, you'll be making um, cleaner angles, you'll be able to get these details not only accurately but also beautifully. That's more of experience, acquired taste. But for starters, a lot of it is just about the not being honestly lazy to measure and find these things. So yeah. Now I feel like the head's a little too long. Probably should end around here. Now look at that other leg. Look at this beautiful angle. So it's coming out from there, but mostly speaking, it does this thing, right? That's super interesting to me. So that's pretty much the entire front of the body. Now, if you look at the other side of the body, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of fluff, a lot of hair. So I could do this and just based on my intuition get the line accurately. But again, let's try and be accurate here. So one thing I can do is measure this distance because that will tell me I know the line comes out from here, right? But I don't know exactly where it ends. But if I can find this distance, it will help me. So if I measure even on the screen, it's pretty much similar to the head once again. So that would be around here. And that's how you get these proportions down. So now that I have a little dot here, I know that this line has to pass through it, right? It does go back afterwards, like so, but I got that point at least accurately. See? That's the process of observing and finding. And I know it looks ridiculous here. It looks like a devil dog from hell, but we'll get there, right? We'll get there once we put in some more details. And there's also interesting light and shadow here. So this brings us to this point. Now here we have this. I love the hind legs of dogs. Ruth's hind legs are so funny. She looks like a little rabbit. See this angle. Now here it's already small details, so I can almost just get them freehand. But once again, you can triangulate. Find this angle. What's the angle of this line? Can I pass that same angle here? And then I'll be able to find the spot. So that would be another way of comparing. And then from here, the leg does this interesting thing there where it really dashes. And we also have that other leg popping from behind, doing this pretty much the same height, I would say. You can even get it like that. You see, it doesn't even matter where the curve goes exactly, as long as you get it somewhat accurately. Now, these are lines representing shapes, so we can start building them into masses. And we have the tail too, of course. But once we start building them into masses, we'll start to get some more clarity here. So let's start with the front of the body. So if we move this a little to the right here, I'm going to separate the layers because I drew on the same layer once again. So this goes here just for our observation's sake, right? And we can start bringing in the shape more. Now, at this stage, honestly, I can just go for it. But if you are uncertain, you'll do the exact same thing we did so far. You'll measure, you'll look for relations. But once you're a little more experienced, you can start just seeing the shapes as they appear and get them somewhat accurately. See, and here we have this beautiful straight line for the elbow. Very similar, by the way, to how a human's elbow will look in many ways, actually. And look at this. So this dips in here. This goes straight. So this dips and this goes almost straight like this. And it's this beautiful asymmetry that makes the gesture feel alive and very very dynamic, right? This is we're gonna divide this in half. So this part reaches down to here, and then we have this beautiful angle. And once again, it does this thing that connects to the paw. Now the paw, we also see a little of its under part. Hopefully you can see it. Again, it's here, right? So this means the leg is really facing towards us. Once again, if it was a three-dimensional object, we're not looking at the leg from above. We're looking at it slightly from, not from the front, sorry, or yeah, slightly from the front, right? So we are seeing a bit of that. We're seeing even more of that actually in this example. We're seeing a lot more of it. We're looking at it, it's, if I were to simplify it into a box, more like this. See? if this were a box, but it's not. It's more carefully, more better represented with a rounded shape. Sometimes you also choose the correct shape for representing anything. Um, Now this is really interesting too. We have uh, this part of the almost upper part of the leg here. This comes from here, a little rounded. And then look at what we have here. This is the start of the leg right around here, actually. And then look at this area here. This is so nice. This thing is facing towards us, right? That's a cylinder that's facing towards us. And you can see the mass of the muscles and everything. This looks really cool. So if it was a simple cylinder, it would look like this maybe, or something like this, right? But it also has a bit of an irregular shape to it. So that's the leg that's facing towards us. And a lot of the dynamic elements of this pose come from having two legs, one that's flat like this, and then another that comes towards us, right? So we're going to get all of these beautiful shapes in, and then we can indicate where the actual paw is, right? And then when you're done, you can take a look and figure out how accurate am I? What's the relation between these two? And see that you're pretty accurate, right? Maybe I got them a little closer to one another, but that's okay. And this leads us very neatly to the hind leg. So we have this kind of a line, goes back here, and then towards this area. And then we can almost comfortably drop this line, drop that line, relate the two, and you've got that hind leg. Almost like a horse, by the way, this dog looks like. Once again, I drew on the wrong layer, but you'll forgive me. There we go. Uh, so hopefully that makes sense. Now we'll continue. Now, the only thing really hinting that this isn't a horse is the fact that the head is so tiny, because horses' proportions are very different. Now, this entire mess we drew earlier, a lot of it is just the fluff of the back. What you'll notice is the leg kind of goes here. There's a muscular structure to it. So maybe something like this. Maybe. Maybe it's a bit hard. The photo is a little vague, right? There's a lot of dust there, a lot of debris kind of flying around. But if you want to make it a little more dog-like, you'd go over and start, once you add the details, add a bit of a floofy pattern to it, right? Add the layers of floof. And the longer the floof, the longer you can draw it, right? Including the tail. So it's a very interesting pose. It's very dynamic in some senses, but look at how off-center and asymmetrical everything is. The head is here, right? One leg is here, one leg is there. It's such an interesting little structure. But yeah, that's a dog's face for you. Same for the head. If we want to start simplifying. Thank you so much, Escorvus. Hope you love this one. It's a cute dog. Just generally speaking, the things I notice are the overall shape of the face. So you get this thing in. So we want to make sure you get that accurately. So this goes here. Other side of the face is pretty much the same thing. A bit skewed because it is looking, we are seeing a bit more of the right side of the face. Can you tell? A bit more of the right side of the face there. So if anything, I would fix this to go more flat here and then straight to indicate we're seeing that side. See? Something like that. And then the nose somewhere around here. For the eyes, it's a little tricky, but this corner and that corner, they're coming out of those corners. So if I almost connect the corners like so, I'll find the placement of the eye. So one here and another one there. And then I can just drop them in. See? That's a cute doggo. Already it's becoming a cute doggo. Now the ears are relatively fun and easy. You see it's an interesting structure where you see some of the inside and the outside. So again, I'm not married to my own lines. This line here that I put, this kind of a thing, now I'm going to break it down into the actual shape. So if I'll find the layer, there it is. And then this is the tip of the ear. It curves in this direction, then it curves in that direction. Then it does this. And then we can also see the inside of the ear. And it's all fluff. It all has a fluffy texture. Same for the other one. They're kind of flying with the dog because he's running real fast. Goes like this, see? In the base of the ear. And if you want to later, you can start adding the pattern, right? So there's this beautiful division and the white in the middle, right? That kind of a thing. So this is a little dark, but this is a little uh, lighter down the middle. See? And then I think maybe the head now is a little too small, by the way, but that's okay. And then if you want to start adding light and shadow, the way you do this, yeah, the head is way too small, I think. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. So the head should reach about here. And because we're working digitally, which I can actually fix that quite easily, I'm going to grab the face. Um, I'll probably need to merge down the layers. Let's see here. Yep. And then I'll just go Control T, make it just a little bit larger. There we go. We got the proportions down, funny enough. Something like that. That would be a little more accurate. Now, if you want to start adding light and shadow, that's another relatively simple thing once you get used to it. It's a little tricky at first, but you'll notice there's a line dividing the light from the shadow, the light from the dark. What you do is ideally construct that line, like draw it, show where it turns from light to shadow, something like this, something like that. And then you'd go about shading everything that's in the shadow, right? This leg shows really well where the shadow ends, and it helps demonstrate the shape of the leg. Can you see it here? See this? I'm not sure if it's like us where they have two bones here. They might have two bones here, and that's what creates this shape, so that it's not just a normal cylinder, but there are two masses here probably. And then it wraps around them, the muscles and the skin, like two bones, you know? That's interesting. I never thought about it this way. But it really indicates where it turns from light to dark, right? Now I'm doing this digitally, but you can do it whatever way you want. I can blend it digitally to make it look less messy if I want to, but that's fine. That's just a start, right? And you can do this for the whole thing and get a really cool result. For the legs here and here as well. If you really want to show it, same goes here. We have this shadow. The bottom of this leg has a bit of shadow here as well. Here as well. See? The face itself also has parts of it in the shadow, ears, everything, right? And you can do that process if you want to. Hope that makes sense. Big nose is the best nose. Indeed, dazzling action. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Yep. Big boops that you can really boop. Hey, Judith. Devil Dog from Hell. Yes. Some metal music. Dazzling will probably, and hello yourself. We'll probably not be doing horses because we did a dog, and we'll have a deer. That's close enough. Um, Tiny Face, yeah, does Ruth like her new home? She got used to it really fast. She is, however, like it's a bigger city, obviously, so it has more smells, more things to munch off the street, which is a bit annoying. She enters every yard of every building. She wants to smell and find the cat food that people leave there. So yeah. Christina, love the point about graceful lines coming with experience. When I started drawing, everything looked so rigid. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That part, drawing accurately is not the hardest part. It's developing it into something that looks graceful later on. That comes with a bit of experience, yes. Hey, the Inker. Hope you're doing well. Steve, lovely moving action dog. Thank you so much. He also, it feels to me that animals with the most fur are the most complex to draw because there are no clear lines. Yes, that is true to some extent. It's almost like trying to learn the anatomy with people who are wearing very baggy clothes. עם אנשים שלובשים בגדים ממש ממש רחבים, זה לגמרי הגיוני התגובה הזאת, כאילו, לגמרי. Yes, it makes sense. Let's see here. What program is this? I've never drawn digital art. This is Clip Studio Paint. I actually did a collaboration with them. I've been using them for years. It's the most comfortable for me on a computer to draw directly. Other alternatives would be something like Procreate, because Photoshop isn't really meant for this. I mean, they have been developing this side of Photoshop, but it's mostly, I find, for editing photos, graphic design, Illustrator, same thing. But with Clip Studio Paint, it's mostly made for comics and manga, but it is really good for sketching as well. The pencil tool feels really natural. It just feels really good. I can really control the quality of the line. So, for example, I can do this and I can do that, just like a real pencil. If I tilt the angle of my pen, I can get some very soft lines, and then if I change the direction, I'll get more of the paper's texture, right? So it's a convenient tool. It feels very natural, and I've gotten used to it. So yeah. Ryan T, do you ever use a proportional divider? Yeah, I know this tool. Honestly, not really. It would help if I'm looking to change, I guess, the dimensions of something and keep it very, very, very accurate. I have seen those in some art stores too, but no, I don't really have a need for it. I think for people who are very interested in the purely drawing side of things, yes, they would find a lot of benefit to it. Me, not so much. Also, have you ever used the Etcher mirror to transfer an image? No, I have no idea what that is. Let me know. I've never seen it. I know Etcher, they're a good brand. They also sent me a bunch of stuff in the past. It was pretty nice for plein air work, but I've never heard of the mirror. So interesting. John, guten Morgen. Hey, thank you so much for being here. 9:49 a.m., which means, oh, okay. So you're in. I don't know why I assumed you're in Germany because of the Guten Morgen, but that's definitely not a Germany clock. Marjorie, hello from NYC, New York State. Sorry, yes, I'm late to the party again. I will never draw digitally, but maybe it's transferable. It's totally transferable. Yes. What I'm showing you here is it's not so much about the technique of holding the pencil, but that isn't as important for our purposes. What I'm showing you is how to better see and understand the proportions. So yeah, I wouldn't really. The dog looks like a bit like a kangaroo now that I look at it. There are of course some more lines to show. Like I can show the base of the leg here, some of the fluffy patterns, just to make it a little clearer. But yeah, this is totally transferable. Yes. Ryan, by the way, I really like the Charles Barg drawing course. I've done a number of the plates in watercolor after I saw them on your channel. Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Indeed. Daiji, how are you? Hello, hello. Glad to see you do a live again. Thank you. Yes, it's been a while, and hopefully this will be back to routine for me. Dazzling action. I wonder what animal is the hardest to draw. Yeah, I don't know if there is such a thing. The hardest to draw. It's a good question. Not sure. Is that a greyhound? I'm actually not sure. I don't think it's a greyhound. Greyhounds look a little different. I don't think it's a greyhound. Something similar, maybe. Have you ever used Krita? Oh, I've heard of Krita, yes, and I heard good things. I haven't tried it though, so let me know if you like it. Maybe that's a good recommendation. I can recommend for sure Procreate just because it's free and you can get a lot of features for free, and it also can capture your process, which is fun. John, I would say something, but I don't want to jinx myself, I guess. Okay, that's fine. From Ohio, cool, cool. I like Ohio. Been there 3 times now. 4 actually. I'm having to take a break now. No worries. We'll catch the rest later. Big hugs to you. Stay safe wherever you need to go. Thank you so much. Thank you, my friend. Much appreciated. Ryan, Etcher Mirror is a tool that reflects the image line work from your phone or tablet to whatever surface you want to transfer it, watercolor, paper, etc. Yeah, so I have seen a similar tool, the DaVinci Eye app, is it called? I don't know. I was never able to have it read the surface of the paper accurately. It would drive me crazy. I tried it, never anchored it properly, so I never got to use it. It just didn't work for me. Looks like a boudoir. I think that's a typo, or maybe it is a typo of a dog. I'm not sure. Looks like a bullseye. Yeah, I don't know what these are, but I trust you. So whatever you say, I'm going with it. So let's do the next one. Now the deer had a couple of votes, so we'll do the deer and then maybe the otter. Can't believe we're doing an otter. That's utter ridiculous. See what I did? Um, so let's get the deer. Deer, deer. I don't know if it's the best photo. It's not super dynamic, to be honest with you, but maybe that's a good thing. Because that's more of a. I have to open up a new document. It drives me crazy. There we go. Maybe it's a good thing because it'll show us how to do a lot with a little when it comes to gestures. So yeah, I think that'll be the next one. Steve looks. Sorry, we read that. Nancy, what's on your shirt? By the way, you look good. Great, thank you. This is an H3 if you know them from YouTube. It's a it's a vaping Santa Claus. Sorry for the blasphemy. I mean, I don't know if it's blasphemy. It's just Santa, but still. Um, it's blessing everyone. It's a Santa Claus. It's my Christmas sweater, even though I don't celebrate Christmas. Mostly don't celebrate. Sorry, keyboard playing up. Yeah, I get it. It's fine. Hey, Hank, how are you doing? Thank you so much. Just a quick hello. No worries. No worries. Feel free to email me. Let me know how you're doing. I might have missed an email. I'm not sure. But I hope you're doing super well and you're able to keep creating, sketching, and painting. Dazzling deer antlers are funky bits to draw. Yeah, we'll get to that. The antlers, I suspect, aren't the hardest part here, but we'll see. I think it's an Afghan hound. Interesting. Let's see. I've never heard of Afghan hound. Now I'm curious. You know what? You may be right because they have fluff. Wow, that may be correct. The head looks exactly the same. The fluff looks similar, but the legs are fluffier from what I see. But maybe it's a different haircut. Yeah, I don't know. But that is for sure a deer. So at least that we know. So let's get to it. So for these types of things, I'm not necessarily going to build a very complex frame. I'm just going to get the head in and use that to build the rest of the body. Now, the things I'm noticing is, right, there's the head, but after the head, we have the neck to lead us into the body. But if you know just a bit of anatomy, not even from knowledge, but from observation, it can really help. So the neck, for example, it connects to the body, right? Goes like this. And then you see this point? This is very common. Ruth has it too. It's like a pointy thing, and that's where the neck connects. So if you can get that accurately, you're golden. Next, I'll get this kind of overall shape for the body. And finally, the legs. This is the hind legs tend to take a big part of the, kind of a gluteus muscles for animals. And then these are easier to get with a simple gesture. And then I can build on top of that. That's how I see it. And of course, it probably has something in its mouth. I'm not sure though. Well, let's check. Is that a little branch, crumb, leaf? I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a piece of light on the neck. I'm not sure. So the way we would begin is from the face to me. Now, we do see a bit more of the right side of the face than the left. This is something you can wing. You can try and be accurate. I'm going to just kind of indicate something here. Okay. That looks about right. The ears kind of coming out this way. That's okay. Now for the neck. So, and it may be too long, top to bottom, but it's okay. I'm going to draw everything based on that. So that's fine. Maybe we'll make it a little shorter of a face. That appears to be a little more accurate. Like this. Almost creating an envelope just for the face. See? It's a trapezoid, but it's not a symmetrical trapezoid. That's the thing. It's a trapezoid where you move this side a little to the left. So you'll end up with this as almost a straight line and this a line that goes here, if that makes sense. And if it would look more to the left, you'll end up with even more of an angle. See what happens? And then you'd see the side of the face maybe too, and the neck, and that's all. Yeah, and the antlers will be here. But that's just, if you understand the three-dimensional shapes, you can do all these kinds of things. That's a different kind of axis of learning. using it. Um, so now for the neck. Now, one way to truly get it accurately is again to measure the head. So the head to me looks almost like if I triple it, I'll get to this point. But let's check. So that's one, two, I would say a little less than triple. So that's one. Then that's going to be two. Sorry, that's way inaccurate. That's going to be two. About three. You know what? Sorry, no. My bad. One, two. So a little less than three. So if I grab, and that's something I'll often do. I'll grab this length. One, two, three. So it'll be around here, but I need to go back a bit. So it's going to be somewhere around here. Okay. Now, the neck comes straight out of this line, right? And it reaches down to here. Now, where is this point in terms of right to left? How can I find it? Let's look at if we draw a vertical line, what does it intersect with? The right side of the face and the eye. So if I drop a vertical line from the right side of the face, I should end up at this point. Does that make sense? That's the kind of thing you want to measure. It's not about being a genius, but rather measuring. And then all we have to do is draw a line that gets here, that gets us here. Okay? Now, this area right here is a little lower than the mouth. So if we go a little lower, we'll end up somewhere around here, right? But it continues. Now, because I can see it as a three-dimensional shape, it's very easy for me to do this kind of a thing and end up at this point. Maybe it's not very easy, but it's relatively easy. So we essentially got the neck down, okay? This is the center of the neck, by the way. So if we look at the neck, this will be the center, following the center of the neck. That's another thing that can be useful. Now the antlers, if we want to just place some kind of an indication, using that same measurement of the head, we'll do one more and maybe it's 1.5. So we'll measure the head, that's 1.5. About here. That's where the antlers are going to reach. Now the distance. I'm actually going to eyeball it because antlers are varied and can go multiple different ways. Let's go with something like that for now. Okay. Now for the top of the body, this is the general direction, I would say. But now how far should we go, right? Now, to be completely honest with you, the way I would do it is from this point of that tip, I'll just get a kind of a gesture line for the belly, if that makes sense. Like so. I'll eyeball it, and where I end up, somewhere around here, is where this point is. And that's how I use that to return here and come back to this proportion. That's how I would do it. You can do the same thing, measure heads. So for example, from this tip here, measure how many heads bring you all the way to the back, which is approximately 3. Do the exact same thing here. 1, 2, 3. And I came at about the same spot here. So that makes sense to me that I actually got the distance somewhat accurately. I hope that makes sense. It's a bit of a leap sometimes. Sometimes it's a bit of a leap of faith. And this should hang a little lower, something like this. But it gets us to the correct spot. Okay, so I hope that makes sense so far. Let's see what else you're saying. Can you draw a Rottweiler? Maybe yes. Maybe if we have time. I have a bunch of other animals here planned. That is going to be my next dog in real life. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Rottweilers, they require a bit of work, right? Just to get their energy out. And from what I know, they're very energetic and loyal dogs that need to be channeled in the right direction. Gina, I love Christmas. I painted a snowman and Santa so far. Oh, that's fun. I love Christmas too. From the bit I got to experience from it, I got to experience a bit of it in Prague, and it was great. But that's probably very different to American Christmas. So yeah. So we found this belly right around here. And do you notice how there's a lot of similarities between mammals? So we got a very similar pattern with the dog and even the tiger, uh, with how the hind legs are constructed. There are a lot of commonalities. Petty, I'm using Clip Studio Paint. It's a good one for this. I have a collaboration video with them too, from about a year ago, I think, from August, if I'm not mistaken, a year and a bit. Uh, this should be a bit more angled. And of course, we can go over everything and make some corrections. But there are a lot of recurring patterns. The more you do, you start noticing them. A lot of common masses that you'll see in a lot of animals. So yeah, for example, the way the front legs connect to the body is kind of like this, but the hind leg reaches all the way up almost. So I would assume the pelvis is somewhere around here, and then there's a bone coming out from here, probably somehow connecting to the knee, or maybe there's two bones here. I'm not sure because this looks like a bone too. I don't know the actual anatomy, but I know how it's almost similar to human anatomy in a way. Yeah, I won't forget your otter, Steve. uh, so let's go from there. I think the easiest thing to get here would be the hind leg. So this is just a vertical line. So if we drop a vertical line, and by the way, sometimes people are worried about like what's the length. So I'm gonna drop a line, but what's the length? Sometimes you can just drop a really long line and then find the length, which is what's gonna happen here. I'm dropping a vertical line. We'll figure out the length in a second. How will we do that? We have this curve right around here. So if we drop that curve, you see, we end up somewhere around here, and this is going to be this corner right here. Now, to make sure we're accurate, we can measure this distance here just to make sure. So that's going to be 2 and a bit. So 1, 2 and a bit. Yeah, we're pretty much on point. And then we have another straight line that goes down like this. So that would be our very basic structure. Now, the more accurate you want it to be, honestly, for me, it's not that important to be super duper accurate here. Once, because it's a demo, and twice, because I'm just doing it for fun. It's not like commission work or anything like that. But overall, this does the trick. Now, once we found one leg, we can pretty much estimate that the rest are going to be around the same area, right, in terms of length. So to me, I can already drop like a hint for this one and a hint for the other one, something like that. Probably better to describe it like this with a straight line, and then another one here that's going to be something like this, right? And then I can start finding the lines. So we have one here. The more I have to relate, the more I progress with the sketch, the more I'll have to relate, the easier it gets. So we'll get something like this for the other leg, and then we'll get, and notice the asymmetry once again. The legs, they don't go perfectly parallel. The other leg doesn't look like this. See? It's not identical and boring. There's a lot of interest there. And then the other leg, see this? You can see its connection, right? So these are important things that will help us. And then this is almost a straight line all the way down to the bottom. And then we get this and narrows down this, and maybe possibly narrows down on the other side too. And then on the other side, so look, we have an interesting thing here. This looks almost like a human leg or arm, both. It's a common pattern. So you'll see this is a bony area, right? This is a bony area. Most people can kind of guess that this is where a bone is. Look at what happens here. The bone, I bet you, is coming from here. And then we have a group of muscles here and another muscle off center here. And that's pretty much the same with biceps. So if you're aware of that, you can almost start to see that this isn't this kind of a thing, very symmetrical and boring once again, right? The legs aren't puffy marshmallow legs, but rather they have asymmetry to them, one in the form of straighter line and a muscle that attaches to the bone. Can you see this? How would it make sense? This is really cool. I haven't even thought of it till this point. So then this thing will happen in the sketch as well. And that will add a lot of believability to it. So straight line almost on this side, and then there's a straight line leading to the bone, but we have a muscle attaching to said straight line. See? And that's how you build um, the full shape of the deer. I would say this probably goes wider even here and probably narrower here actually. So this leg's a little wide. No, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. But you see, I hope that makes sense. That's how you slowly build it up. Now, the way most people do it, and kids too, by the way, is they'll look at the deer, they'll say, "Oh, this is the face, it has two ears, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Again, an antler, the body, they'll usually draw it like this, right? And then legs, maybe like this kind of a thing, maybe stick legs, right? If they're a genius, they will notice that one leg goes like this and another leg goes like this, right? That's the very symbolic way of drawing things. It's using symbols. The reality is much more asymmetrical, off-centered, um, more nuanced, right? So there's nothing wrong with drawing things in a non-realistic way. But for those who do aspire for that, hopefully I've presented so far a few ways for you to develop that way of thinking, right? I hope that makes sense. So let's finish up this area and then we'll take a break, read some of your messages, and maybe do the otter. I think it's time to do the otter. Utterly ridiculous. So this is the ear, almost as long as the face, funny enough. Now it does, again, you decide how complex you want it, right? The ear looks like a straight line and then something like that. It does not look like a symmetrical shape, once again. So you can decide to represent it with a straight line here and then a curve right here. The other one is kind of listening to the other side there. I can tell it's aiming to the back. Something like that. And then the antlers. So first I'd get the overall shape. Right? And then let's clean it up a bit. And this isn't easy. This is probably the hardest part for me, is actually getting the lines to be parallel, like so. And wider, a bit wider, close to the base. And then this will go here and there. And of course, from the antlers, we have kind of like the tiger's teeth. We have spikes coming in our direction, right? So that's really cool. And the better you become at this, the more you learn how to represent these things very simply and easily, right? But this is my, I don't know, maybe second time in my life drawing a deer. I mean, don't quote me on it. I don't really remember, but it's a handful, And then we have the front of the face, that kind of a thing. Two eyes really to the side of the face. Not really interested in the face as much, but just the overall thing. Voila, right? I hope that makes sense. Let's look at your messages chronologically. I will not forget your otter, Tiny. When you draw your mopeds, do you just draw the shapes you see in the particular photo, or do you box it out and figure out the planes? So by moped, do you mean that video I did with the motorcycle? Because I'm not sure, it's not mopeds, it was just the one. But do you just draw the shapes you see in the particular photo, or do you box it out? Oh, I see what you mean. I usually draw the shapes I see in the particular photo. I don't have the time or interest to box it out and build it. I would do a process that is similar to what you see here, because I'm more interested in the watercolor that comes afterwards. See what I mean? So to me, the rest is a bit superfluous. So yeah, I'd follow the shapes I see. That's the one thing that never failed me. Just following the shapes I see. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope I understood the question fully. Stephanie, good morning, Liron. I don't know if you will be able to catch the whole, if I will be able to catch the whole thing, but glad to see a drawing live stream. I've been binging your drawing videos. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I should do more. I should do more, and I should remind people of the How to Sketchbook on Amazon. Feel free to check that out if you're looking for a book resource. Yeah, it's been a while since I properly talked about sketching in a very um, consistent manner, I guess. Yeah. And also, I'm actually working on writing and illustrating a children's book. So drawing animals is important. Cool. Good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions or I can help in any way. I have never done an illustrated proper like children book or a picture book rather, if that's the thing that it's going to be. Um, so not maybe on the technical, but anything else. Like feel free to ask me about. Gina, I think sloths are so cute. If you could draw one, I would try one. Yeah, we can do that too after the otter. It's been a way harder process than I would have imagined, even as someone who is an artist already. It's a totally different skill. Yes, totally. Especially if you're inventing your own scenes and you're trying to rely on a multitude of reference photos. It's not easy at all. So yeah, but I'm happy you're actually doing it, and I'm sure you'll finish it successfully. Judith, very happy to hear this is helpful. Jacqueline, oh, just joining, was painting a horse. Cool, cool. Welcome aboard, Jacqueline. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for all the kind comments and messages, by the way. Really, really appreciate it. So let's do an otter. I'll find one real quick that makes sense for us to use. There are a few really cute otter pictures. You know what I think we could do? I think we can do like a couple of quick otters because they're relatively simpler than what we've done so far. Oh, that's a cute one. So we'll do a couple. We'll do a couple. Let's start with this one. This is really cute. I'm going to keep those in my downloads folder for now. Okay, check this out. This is so cute. Let's see here. Oh, Gina, thank you so much for the super chat. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much. It's been an interesting time, so I'm super grateful for it. Business is challenging, but in a good way. In a good way, it's all going to be fine. So I really appreciate anyone who supports me. By the way, this reminds me, Gina and everyone else, everyone who supports me over on Patreon. There will soon be. I already finished uploading it. I just need to create a post, an exclusive process for Patreon. I don't like putting things behind paywalls, but I do want to thank and reward the people who already support me there. So just know if you're there today, probably, or tomorrow, there's going to be an exclusive process there, really painting it truly in one go a la prima with a lot of messiness, more than you usually see from me. And I think a result that's really good. So just know that it's going to happen real soon. I finished everything, editing, uploading, the whole thing. All I need is just to create a post and link to it. So let's do this, Otter. This is cute. Relatively simple. I'm honestly tempted to just put in a rounded circle for the face, but let's try and be a little more nuanced here. So I do see that the top here is a little flatter and then the bottom is a little rounder, conceptually speaking. So we can try and capture that here with a bit of a flat line and then a round line. See? And then this brings us to the neck. And over on the other side, we can complete this rounded shape. And the thing is, you want to also pay attention here to the asymmetry. So what you'll notice is the curves aren't going fully parallel. That's not the neck. The neck's a bit more nuanced. So it goes like this curved here, but here it's flatter, and then the curve begins. So that's one thing to pay attention to. So I would start this side flat and then round it, whereas here the roundedness begins almost instantly. See what I mean? Now, as for the hands, this is really cute. I made it a little larger, almost like a dinosaur head. And then we have the arm. So don't be distracted by the little details. Look at the change in the pattern of the fur. The arm attaches much higher. So that's a good thing to note. So I would say, let's measure this distance. And from the top, that's about the same distance to the arm. That's because my eye caught that distance as a useful one. So if I measure the same distance here, I'll find that the arm begins somewhere around here. Okay. Now, the arm is also asymmetrical. So the tendency is always to do a snowman structure, talking about Christmas, snowman. That's not the case here. Once again, we have an area that's flatter and an area that's rounded. See this? Do you see the difference in the shapes here? This is really, really important, by the way, Gina. Once again, thank you so, so much. This is really important. So, once again, this is a little flatter all the way out from outside the body, right? Here. And the bottom part, and this should probably begin here, and the bottom part's kind of a rounded, but it goes like this and like that. And then we get that cute little arm. Same on the, and I know drawing things like this can end up being a little too technical and a little boring. So always, find your own balance of how to actually convey what you're drawing with cuteness and with soul and whatever. But b- uh, I don't want it to be too technical in the final result. I mean, not the process itself. Because sometimes, if you look at people like Proco, they make everything so anatomically boring sometimes. And I mean that in the best way possible because he knows how to draw more artistically. But if you go too heavy on the anatomy, it can get super boring. So I'd probably just end up erasing this area. Just saying. And then the other arm, it's a very funky shape, I have to say. So something like this, which is then divided into fingers. That's really strange. I've never seen other arms before. And a bit of a thumb there, I guess. And for the face, well, let's see what we can do here. So notice how it's not a profile, a perfect profile, meaning we're not looking at the face perfectly from the side, but rather at a bit of an angle. So we do see a bit of the front here. So the center line of the face is somewhere around here. So somewhere around here, very close to the edge. And what this does is it puts the nose in here, but we're actually seeing beyond the nose. So if you notice real carefully, look, this is the level of detail I can perceive right now. Let's make the pencil smaller. There is this, but then there's the under the nose part comes from behind it. Overlap is very important when showing these things. So we have the nose, and then overlapped behind it is this. How easy would it be for someone who's just getting started to go like nose, from that we have this rounded shape, and completely miss the point, right? Again, you don't have to notice all of these things, but they certainly help. So the nose goes like this, maybe something like that. It's a cute nose. And then the center line of the face produces this cute little shape like this, right? But then from behind the nose, there's another one of these coming out. And that's what I mean when I say draw accurately rather than draw, sorry, not accurate, not even, okay, accurately and not beautifully. Draw accurate, correct, and not pretty. So once you get it correctly, it will end up looking pretty. And now let me just, for convenience sake, grab the other and move it over a little closer so I can zoom in. There we go. Okay, now look at what happens here, talking about overlaps. We have this line right over here. Sorry, this line right over here. And look at this. The mouth comes out of that line, right? And it moves back here. So there's a lot of interesting things going on here, actually. We learned quite a bit. So you see, it's the nose is first, then this thing, then the mouth comes out from between, and then this part. See how much complexity there is? If you're able to look at the shapes and analyze them fully, and you're willing to do that work, you'll discover a lot of interesting things. So again, nose, right? Something like this. Then from behind it, so we have this front, then this goes from the back, and then the mouth coming out. It's actually very similar to how human lips look, but it's this thing that will lead to it looking correct. Now, to get the placement of the, let's structure the face first. So from here, this goes like this, and then there's a bump, right? Something like that. And from here, I would, the way I like to do it, honestly, there's a lot of ways to find the eye. I like to use whatever I have. So I have this shape here. So I may just end up using it. So I'm trying to put that in accurately, and then I see the eyes somewhere around here. That would be one side. That would be the other side, kind of eyeballing it. There are more accurate ways of doing it. You can find this line and connect the two and then reach it. You can do so many things here. Now, my knowledge it limits me as well because I'm not an expert on anatomy of otter eyes. So I may get it a little inaccurate. What I have a feeling that it's similar to human eyes is that there is a line that goes like this and then a longer line. So it feels like short line, a longer line, and then short, long, the other way around. So if I try to do that instead of drawing an almond, a vague almond, I'd probably end up with something similar. So short line, short line, long line. It's very subtle, but it works. And then I can put a highlight here and make this just a cute little cartoony otter. And look at the ear. The ear is so funny somewhere around here, right? Just a tiny ear. That's such a funny animal. There you go, an otter. We've we've analyzed it ad infinitum. Uh, add a bit of the fluff here, add a bit of these patterns, just like dogs and tigers and everything else. The whiskers seem to always be built the same way, right? And on the other side too. And if we had a dark background, we'd put light whiskers over a dark background. There you have it. A cute little otter. Hope you enjoyed this one. um, let's see here. Thank you, Jacqueline. Marjorie, I used to have problems with foreshortening an animal's snout as it looked at me. I used to only because I seldom do anymore. Oh yeah. So if you try again, you'll have the same problem. You think? Yeah. It's pretty much about forgetting what it's actually built like and trying to see it in space for what it is. Um, Thank you so much, Gina. John, I love your Rubik's Cube, how to do angles. Perfect. Yeah, I heard a lot about the angles there, that they were really helpful. Thinking of things in terms of angles of the corners and of the different lines of the cube or box really help. Your arm leg tutorial, so helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very happy to hear, Joey. Um, I love those guys from Proco. Yeah, yeah, they're great. They're great. John, I just started watching Proco. The others, I'm not so sure. Yeah, I don't know who the others are. There's Marshall, who's very entertaining, and he's great in perspective as well. But yeah. Also, if you want to get one more kind of element of the otter, it's that transition from light to dark fur. You can indicate that too. That would help as well. And I would say, notice how the fur goes over that connection, right? It kind of changes directions a bit. So it's some of those things you really want to notice when you're deciding on how to draw or how to paint this. As for the hand, I won't go into too many details. I don't really care about that. We ended up doing a very detailed otter study. So maybe we'll move on. I hope that was satisfying. The other otters are okay. They're not as good as this one. So I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. So let's get to another one. I'm going to do a new document here, create this thing. Okay. So what do we have? Finding eye level, etc. Really great. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it can really help with understanding where things are. So let's see what we have in addition to these. I will update the description to have the order pick if anyone wants to draw it too. So we have a crocodile, an owl. So the owl got a few requests too, so let's go with that. We're gonna go through everything, it seems, which makes me really happy because it has been a while since I did these live streams. So here's our lovely little owl. Oops. And this is vastly different, right? It's not really a mammal. It's going to look a little different. Once again, I'm trying to see the whole picture and figuring out how the whole thing works. So the main shapes I see here are the body itself, and don't be mistaken by the wing, right? It continues all the way to the back here. And then we have two wings. that look very different in different angles. If you look at the wing where it connects to the body, again, these are the kinds of things you really want to look at and realize and figure out how they're structured. You'll notice it's not just connected to the body, right? There's a shape to that connection. So it connects around this line, see? So that will really help us make the wing look believable. Now, the wing itself, again, kids have a tendency to, and adult kids, myself included, have a tendency to draw wings like this, right? That's the simplification. Um, but of course, there's a high simplification. Birds, people draw them like this too. Um, and that's, by the way, that is an anatomically accurate shape. Like the wings, when they fold, they do look like this. I've seen other pictures of owls; they look exactly like this. Um, but the thing is, notice all the nuances in shape, right? So we have a long line, then a shorter straight line, then the shape of the actual feathers and how they connect to the body. On the other side, we have something completely different, right? We have this kind of almost here looks like the elbow or where the bone is. So we'll have this kind of a thing, and then it flaps back, and all the feathers connect. This probably, this up until here, that's the only real mass of meat, so to speak, and then it's all feathers, right? So you'll get something like this, vastly different. This is kind of a fanning action going on. So all of these are things you want to pay attention to. Now, where I would begin, actually, I'm not sure, but I think with the shape of the body itself. Um, so I like how it's a relatively simple structure. See, this kind of a thing. It's almost like we have a fat cylinder shape with legs here, almost like a bat. So that's how I will do it. Um, Hillel, let's try a bison next, maybe. Yes, let's do that. Hillel wants an animal with lots of fur to make it even harder to see the anatomy. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's do that. Bison. I'll need to find a very furry one. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see here. The fur isn't really. Let's see. Let's just search fur, because the bisons I see here aren't that furry. Furry animal. Let's search for furry animal, because I want to show you it's the same process. Even if you don't see the muscles or the skin, it's pretty much the same process. But in any case, let's finish with the owl first. So the way I would do it is, this again is almost a cylinder, so we can treat it as such. So I'm gonna draw the almost front of the cylinder like that, and then I'll get this, again, tube-like shape. I don't know, something like that. But let's measure it for a second. So I'm measuring this length, okay? And then I'll try and see 1, 2, 3 till to the feathers of the tail. So we need to grab this measurement from the tip. I measured from here. 1, 2, 3 to the tail. So it's this to the tail, which means we're going to do something like that. And this will go down, and this will go like this. And notice the difference in angles here. This goes a little up, and this is a smaller, it widens, gets wider here, almost like a snail. I need to reorganize this shape, because this is actually, it continues here. You see, there's a point here, so it should go down to here if I want to be fully accurate. And this should be a bit like, it's the same. It's pretty much the same, but just I'm trying to figure out the shape of the head here. Something like that, I would say. And it widens around here and narrows at the back. So notice how it goes like this, kind of. So I can connect it here and then drop just 2 vague lines showing where the legs are going to be. Somewhere around here. The tail, or whatever that is, going to connect over here. The fuzz here. Love this fuzz. Ruth has a similar fuzz. And that pretty much places most of the elements for the main body. Okay, let's make the head a little clearer. I want to make sure that it looks the way it's supposed to. So this comes all the way down here and then it dips, and that's the pointy kind of shape of the face. And that would go all the way down here, like so. And the rest is fuzz with that weird, vague nose they have. I'm going to put in the eye too. It's not a big detail here, so I'm just going to place it relatively flat. What a weird animal it is. Very creepy. Now let's find where the wings connect. So this would be something of the center of the body, but we need to take a bit more to the right. So somewhere around here, above this line, for sure. See? If we grab a line from this cheek, if you want to call it that, we'll go up. So same here, cheek, go up. So we're pretty accurate. So I would say that's a good point. And now we'll do the exact same thing. I'm going to drop the wing, but how long is this line? So again, let's find something to relate this line to. What can we relate it to? So if I check this line, it's a little shorter than this, actually. It's quite long. Than double this, I mean. So if I take the full length here, I honestly, if I were by myself, I just eyeball it, but I'm just trying to figure out. So it's a little shorter than half. So a little shorter than half would be this. So somewhere in that ballpark, which puts us at about here. Okay. And then from here, it goes slapping in the other direction. Pretty much the same length, I would say. And before we even continue the wing, let's do the other wing, its base. So we'll wrap around the body and reach the other side. That's when you understand three-dimensional shapes, it gets easier. If you understand three-dimensional shapes, you can imagine it wrapping around the body, going to the back and connecting here, behind, where we can't see. If you don't, all you really have to do is figure out the line that connects it to. It's at a little bit of an angle. It's not a horizontal line. So we can do both. One is wrap around, go the other side and find it somewhere around here. Or we can find that slightly angular line. That's where it's going to pop out from. And we'll do the exact same thing. We can also use these distances to find almost the other side here. So it's maybe a little too long. Somewhere around here. Then we have this little bump, and it's going to flap out. Now, if we compare these distances, right, it's also drop a horizontal line. It's a little lower, right? So this should be a little higher, right? And now we know we're somewhat accurate, right? I hope that makes sense. Let's take a break. That was a lot. I hope that makes sense, though. But before we take a break, just a quick note on overlap. Wing is first, then the body, then the other wing, just like we had with the otter in the previous example. Exactly the same thing, only at a different format. Can you see the correlation? The nose, this side, that side, that side. That overlap is a very similar phenomenon to what's going on here. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Let's see what you're saying, then we'll continue. Yes, we read that. Thank you so much, Steve. If we're struggling to draw something, then we should try and find a photo with a lot of contrast, right? I would say, to me at least, if I struggle painting something with contrast helps me see the shapes. If you're struggling with drawing something, not necessarily. It depends on what you're trying to draw, because the strong contrast will show you some shapes maybe better, but sometimes the details you're after will be in the shadow and you won't see them. So it really depends on your purpose for it, I would say. So not necessarily, depending on what you're after. And if you enjoy that look, that would be more a matter of personal choice. I prepped a bison in a second. Gina, it makes me happy to see you. You're so kind and creative. Thank you so much. Liron, I do not easily see line direction and nuance, so this is very helpful for me. Thank you for explaining so well. You're awesome. Thank you so much. And you know what I would say to that? For every small detail that I put in relatively fast, you take your time and take like 3 measurements from different triangulations, right? Relate the point you're trying to get to one. So for example, One thing I completely missed is what's the relation between this and the face? It's a little diagonal, right? So that means I got it wrong here, by the way. It should go a little more to the left, so it should look shorter, right? Just an example. If you grab another point to relate things to, you'll find it more accurately. So one point is, let's say we did the spin thing. We can compare this corner to this corner, figure out if the angle is similar, right? Find all the points in the world to help you get it accurate, right? Relate it to as many different reference points you can. And the more experience you get, the fewer of these you'll need. You'll end up just sketching it directly at some point, which I could do if I want. Maybe it won't be as accurate, but I could try. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, that otter is super cute. I wasn't planning for it to be this cute. Gina, I made lots of small watercolor journals at night. I practice drawing in them. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. What paper did you use for them? I'm curious. I just bought your drawing thing. Oh, thank you so much, Tiny Face McGee. Thank you. Much, much appreciated. Yep. I want to update that course because a lot of the things since then I developed. Let me know what you think. It's very good for the first steps of figuring out how to relate things, how to simplify lines, how to simplify gestures. It's a bit of everything. It's kind of the video course version of the How to Sketchbook. But the approach, you can tell like I've grown and changed a bit in my approach. It's become a little more subtle. But a lot of people have been reporting it's super successful and in themselves being super successful following it. So yeah. Liron, thanks so much for a Patreon video. I'm impressed and grateful. Sure, I mean, thank you so much for your support. That's huge to me. And I don't do a lot of perks on Patreon, so once in a while it's fun. John, something close to it that has shapes. Not sure what it refers to. Let me know. Yeah, we'll try and find something like that. We'll try and find something like really unclear. And then you'll see, you can follow just, אפשר פשוט ללכת לפי המבנה של הפרווה. זה לא חייב להיות כאילו לפי השרירים שמתחת. I'll show you. So let's finish this one up. Relatively simple. We can see where this wing meets this wing. So somewhere around here. And then we have this lovely line connecting the two. Done. The more you do this, the easier it's going to be to get these graceful lines. Now remember this first wing we talked about. Look at how it connects to the body at a bit of an angle. So we'll get that angle in all around to the back here. And all we have to do is connect the dots. So we have this slight curve. And it's connect the dots with a bit more complex shape, right? I think it should go a little more like this. And that. There we go. That's more like it. And look at, here you see it looks completely normal, but look at how strange it is, the difference in their width. The width of the wings is so different because one is spread in an angle, at an angle where we can better see it, whereas the other one is see at a diagonal angle. And you can see this by the feathers, right? So the feather pattern goes something like this here. And here it's very diagonal. Because it's diagonal, that means the wing is really at an angle that's away from us. To me, that is more than enough, right? We can get some of the legs information. So we have this line, then that line, then this kind of goes down like that. Same on the other side. What a creepy animal this is. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you can start if you want to indicate the actual toes, if you will, right? But that is pretty much it for the owl, right? Hope that makes sense. Hope that was helpful. Let's find a tough one. Let's find a tough animal where it's very hard to see the shape of the body itself. Let's see what I can come up with. But it's not going to be hard because I'm just going to follow the shapes I see. That's the thing to understand. So what would be a real fluff ball? I see a few. Yeah, even this one. This is a good one. So just a fluffy dog, and you'll get to see. Let me know, Hillel, if that makes sense, if that's the thing you meant. Because here you can barely see any of the anatomical so-called details. So dog, Right, so let me know if that's the kind of thing you mean. Because this one really is a fluff ball, right? To me, that's even easier because I don't have to draw any complex anatomical details. So what I would do in this case is look at the overall structure and let me know if that's a good example. Perfect. Yes, happy to hear. You're on it. Good. I'm happy to hear. So to me, this is easier. What I would do is look at the overall shape, the entire thing. So what I see here is once again asymmetry. Very interesting asymmetry. I'm going to try and translate to Hebrew too. אז בגדול יש פה אסימטריה מעניינת. מה הכוונה? הצד הזה, this side, just a flat line. But this side, הצד השני, עגול יותר, rounder. So if you look at it isolated, it's almost like this. And that's a really strange thing when you think about it. זה ממש מוזר לכלב. But let's develop it. Okay? A real fluff ball. So let's build an overall frame for it. Straight line, top to bottom, right? Just captures everything, even the ears. So that's the ground, relatively straight line for the rest of the body. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I think let's compare them. Let's compare the. So this is a little shorter. So let's see. I got it pretty accurately, actually. I don't even have to change anything. This was pretty accurate. Now this leads all the way to the ear. From the ear, there's an angle to the other ear. I'm going to capture that. And then I'm just going to connect the whole thing together like this. After it's connected, we can start bringing out some details. Okay? So I'm going to lighten this up a bit. Very fluffy dog. This is much easier, honestly, because I can work with the frame. I can work with the envelope. Here's the next big shape I see. This thing here, the main, הרעמה. Okay, this is really good. So from here, from the ear, I go back a bit. And what I'm going to do is dip back into the center of the body, this point, dip back out. Now notice angle, zavit, right? Like this. Dip out, dip back in. From here, I'm going to go a little rounder. Actually, it should protrude a bit more. בולט קצת יותר. And from here, I'll get this part in. Fairly simple. So it's just 1, 2, and boom, like that. All the way to the front here. So this is just a fluffy mane. Now, let's unite these into one line. Now we have the legs coming out from this fluff. So we have something like this for one leg and something like that. It's all off center. הכל מכוון שמאלה קצת, אנחנו רואים אותו מימין. So one leg, two legs. Actually, the distance between them should be even smaller, probably. No, that's okay. That's good, actually. One leg, two legs, right? Now, everything is much fluffier than I drew it, of course. So when you end up drawing the details, you'll do this kind of a fluffy thing, right? Kind of like that, with really long hair around here. But even now, we can start bringing in the anatomical shapes we do see. So for example, for this leg, we do see very clearly this bump here. So we can get a bump and a bump, get a bump. That means something else if I'm not mistaken. And then fluff here. And the paw, it's barely visible, but we do see the knee here or something like that. Other leg, very fluffy on this side, right? See the fluff? But then a little more straight on the other side. Feel free to ask me questions. שאלות תוך כדי. And then this side's also a big, great fluff. If you can draw the fluff strategically, you'll do really well. So for example, this here works really well. I have a bit of a straight line, bunch of fluff, then again straight line. You don't want to fluff it up fully and have everything way too fluffy, if that makes sense. So for example, a bit of fluff here, but then maybe some straighter lines, just to show that it's a pattern, right? Now for the face. Face is a bit off axis. It's a bit diagonal. Now, where should I place it? So I see this point as this point. it goes a little higher. So maybe somewhere around here, right? And then I can connect it with the ears here. Now the ears are actually should be here based on my measurement. The envelope included the ears, so I need to be cognizant of that. The ears don't come out of here, they end where the envelope is. Okay? Like so. And no one there in your driveway. I'm missing the conversation. Sorry, as soon as I'm done with this, I'll see what you're saying. So that's one ear, another ear. Now look at what's going to happen here. We're going to see this shape of the face. Can you tell? Can you see it? I can see it. Just following the fluff. So just going to go with the ear, following that fluff down here, down there. Something like this, I would say. And then once we're here, we have this nice little structure showing where the eyes are. You see, there's actually a shape, almost like a wolf thing going on. So I'm trying to capture that. Let's move the photo a little closer to where I'm drawing because I'm having a hard time seeing the details now. Something like this. Just move it a bit. There we go. Okay. And now the mouth actually goes out a bit, right? And I can see this interesting thing connecting here to where the eyes are. See this? Now I'm using light and shadow too to guide me. So I see some light and shadow there, so I'm using it. And then the eyes kind of go out from there. We have the nose down the center. Cute nose. This dog is definitely smiling. Let's put a smile there. Let's put a smile on his face. There we go. I don't want to shade it too much. Let's keep it linear for now. And the eyes, so that seems about right. One eye, another eye. Too big of an eye, another eye. See? Now the eyes are a little off. Like I need to make this one a little lower. So something like this. My proportions are off. So this entire thing, I kind of messed it up. This entire thing, because of the ears and where I wanted to place them, we'll have to move a bit like this. There we go. It's a little better now. Because there's a distance here between the base and the actual face. We'll get rid of this. Of course, I may be still a little off, but that's fine. I went a little faster on the face, honestly. Now we'll turn this into fluff once again. So I'll preserve the fluff where it matters most, like here, but then I'll go a little fuller lines. Same here for the fluff. And then here's going to be a bit of a straighter line. Here's a very gentle fluff. Here's a very long fluff. And yeah, I think we're good. The proportions aren't perfect. This entire thing should be smaller, probably. So something like this. But I think the hard part, this isn't even the hard part. The hard part is getting the entire proportions. And I think I did a decent job there. Now, I may have ended up making the dog a little too wide. You know what? I'm not sure. But in any case, let's invent a paw because we can't see it. And there you go. You got it. Not that difficult, actually. But this should be smaller. This entire thing should be smaller. I really exaggerated that. And if you add a bit of eyes there, keep a bit of a highlight there, you got it. Smiley dog face. I hope that makes sense. I hope that was helpful. Judith, thank you so much. Very happy it's helpful. Let's see. I buy 6-pack of concerns. I don't sell, so I use cheaper paper. Oh, cool. Got it. Fernando, sorry if you already answered this question. To draw, do you think about the 2D shape or the 3D solid? Yeah, it's a great question. So throughout these demos, you see me sometimes thinking about the 2D. Let me show you an example. A 2D shape would be comparing these two wings using a diagonal line. I'm looking just at a 2D space, which is my paper. Does this wing end up higher than that wing? So what connects them isn't a horizontal line, but rather a slightly diagonal angled line. I know it's not easy for everyone to see that angle, but from a concept perspective, this is an example of using a 2D space, right? Another example is where does this intersect with the head, right? Same for the not otter, but previously we had another one where I was thinking, or maybe it was the deer. Yeah, the deer. This line, is it vertical? Is it horizontal? That's a 2D thing, right? But then I'll sometimes think about things like the very first example in a 3D manner, like these paws, right? So I'm thinking about how I can capture their angle by turning them into boxes, right? So this paw looks like a box that goes like this, where you can see a bit of the right side right here. And the other paw goes the other way, and you can see just a bit of the left side. This, right? So I am thinking in terms of three-dimensional shapes, two-dimensional space, everything together. Hope that makes sense, Fernando. It's a great question. Throughout these demos, you see me doing both all the time. This dog we did in the most 2D way possible, just comparing where things intersect. That's a 2D way of thinking. I use whatever tool I can to find a. I'll even use a feeling. So when I do this kind of an angle, when I'm thinking, okay, where's this compared to that? That angle is almost like me feeling the space. I'm not even thinking in necessarily in terms of 2D or 3D. I'm using whatever I can. Um, the what should we draw stuff? That's something that's always on people's minds. Persian kitty. In UK, we love our owls. Oh, that's funny. Perfect. Happy you liked it, Hillel. Happy it was helpful. What about a silky chicken? What's a silky chicken? I don't even know. Is that a thing? Silky chicken. I always end up after live streams with tons of. Oh my, that's a fluffy thing. We can do that. That's funny. It's so fluffy that it will actually make sense. I found a good one. Um, let's see if I can find a picture on Pixabay of that silky chicken. I can't believe this. I can't believe this thing exists. Silky chicken. I have a good one for you. I have a really good one for you because this fluffy boy or girl, we did thinking very 2D. Now a fluffy chicken we can do with a very 3D mindset, believe it or not. And I can show you if you want to. I actually have a good example of that. I don't know if it's a fluffy chicken, but it is still, if it's a silky, but it is definitely fluffy. Let's find actually an actual silky one. Um, that's interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. There are two. I'm not sure which one. Let's try both and see. There are two good ones. That's one. That's two. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Let me just go over the chat real quick, and then we'll continue with the chickens as well. Descond. I don't ever know how to pronounce this name of the dog, but I think it's Descond. I've got two. Cool. John, no one there didn't understand this. Thank you. Thank you for the example. Made a couple of things clearer. Perfect. Happy to hear. Marjorie, would your approach to sketching this fluff ball be any different in pencil and paper? As a Shetland sheepdog mother, I have never been able to draw any one of them to suit me. Yeah, Marjorie, this is fully interchangeable with pencil and paper. I would do the exact same thing. The only difference is that you'll probably see me get more graceful lines, just because I'm so used to really feeling the friction between the lead and the paper. So I'll end up probably using graceful lines, significantly graceful lines, and get more details in faster. That would be the main difference. Let's do now a silky chicken. I have two here, so let's start with this one. Just real fast, we'll do. This isn't a complex example. So downloads. That's a dog. Where did I save the chicken then? Where did the chicken go? Oh yeah, it's in the wrong folder. I'm gonna put it back here. So if I'm not mistaken, that's a Silky chicken. Am I correct? Hopefully I am. So I would probably use a 3D approach with this kind of a thing. And I call it a thing on purpose because look at that thing. Okay. So to me, I look at all of these things as three-dimensional balls and shapes. So the head, for example, I'm just going to do this for now. I'll make the pencil a little smaller. So the head is going to be something like this. And by the way, let me just... okay. So that's the head, right? Now I'm looking at the entire mass of the body. So to me, it's just one big floof. So I'm going to get this kind of a rounded, almost ball-like shape here. And then this is behind. That's the tail, I guess, or something like that. So that's going to go behind. See? And then one leg, two legs. That's, to me, that's even easier. And then it has a floof on the head. That would be it. Now you can start improving the mass you drew. So, for example, mass, not mess. There's this shape here, and then maybe the chest is a little puffy, so you'll bring that out, and then maybe this is a part of the wing. But overall, this is going to be very easy. And you can also map out the shadows the same way as we've seen earlier. So there's going to be some shadows going around here, and then they're going to return, connect here, return there. And if you'll shade it, you'll start seeing, and maybe that's shaded too, and maybe that's shaded as well. So once you shade it in, you'll start seeing what the shapes actually look like, right? This entire thing is in the shadow, but this tail is not in the shadow. But this area here is in the shadow, right? And you can use that shadow to bring out the floof as well. And the edge of the shadow could be floofed out, right? To me, those are even easier examples because there's nothing really to this, just a ball, a fat ball of fluff. You know what I mean? That's how I would do it. Most silkies have feathers even on legs. Interesting. Yeah, let's try and find another one. Yeah, okay. Oh, so it is a silky chicken then. So it is a silky chicken. The other picture, I wasn't sure it is, but it has feathers on its legs. So I was actually right all along. So let's see here. Name of the picture is male. Because it's probably a male silky chicken. So let's get that in. No, it's almost this video is this live stream has almost become a meme of itself, but that's fine. So let's make this one a little smaller. Zoom in a bit. Is that a silky chicken? I guess. Let's do this. Can I just delete this? Good. Let the silkiness begin. So once again, I'm going to follow what I see. So I'm going to go fast. My apologies, but this is the head, right? It has a bunch of shapes in it. They're all fluffed up, right? Then we have some kind of a tail here. Notice the proportions, the angles. Second guess yourself, check yourself as much as you can. This continues almost all the way to the leg, so I can continue this gesture and find out where the leg is, right? It's these small things. This now connects to a central fluff right here, right? When we have that same overlap once again, see, this is most of the front, then this one, and then that one. Overlap is a huge thing when it comes to drawing things in a convincing manner. So we have this part of the leg floofed up. This is just a guideline, right? And then from here, we have this floof that goes above that, right? We have this kind of a thing. And then from behind it, we have another leg coming out, maybe reaching down to here. And then we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, a beak, right? A thing here, whatever you call that. Terrible thing that I don't know why they have it. And a sad eye, because it's a silky chicken. Does that make sense? And a tear. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Of course, you can start, bringing out the shape of the feathers if you want. Start feathering them in, kind of like that. There you go. There's a mess for the wing that I completely ignored here, kind of like this, right? Something like that. There's a bit of a mess here because it is silky, right? There you go. I hope that makes sense. That's close. That's what you've just seen me do now is the closest to how I do things on my own. Because I can go fast because I'm relatively experienced in recognizing all the connections and the proportions. Happy you enjoyed this coffee breath. Have you ever heard about trying to pet an animal with the paintbrush as you render it? John Moore Laws recommends it in his book on how to draw birds, and I found it really helpful. Interesting. I don't want to touch them with a wet paintbrush, but definitely a clean one. Kind of pet them. Yeah, that makes sense. To feel it is to be able to draw it. That makes sense to me. That looks like a silky. Awesome. Yes. Thank you, Aubrey. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful profile pic. It's fun. It's a nervous panda bear. What is that? It looks good. Marjorie, most silkies have feathers even on legs, and here we go. We got it. Josh, how are you, my friend? Thank you so much for being here. Good morning from Canada, and thank you for all your support. Much, much appreciated. Marjorie, first one is silky. Steve, can tell us where the muscles are. Yes, that's kind of where I drew them, right? So there is obviously muscles here on the legs. There is a I'm sure there's a big muscle somewhere here on the wing, muscles on the neck, and that's pretty much it. Second, you don't think is a silky chicken? Oh man. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. I thought this one is for sure silky chicken. Okay. Please, sir, horse drawing or sketching? We can do a quick horse because we've done so many things similar to horses. Steve, absolutely love your tuition. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I think this would make a good short video just showing the fluff. We'll do one last example, which is going to be a horse. Why not? Horses are a little more complex, though, so I may end up showing you once again the more direct, intuitive approach. Let's find a good one that has a nice gesture to it. Oh, this is a good one. Okay, let me show you a bit of a unique angle to a horse, something you don't normally see. It's right from the front, and I think a lot of people will find it helpful. Just let me edit the photo, crop out the sides, so it's a little easier to work with. So let me show you. It's getting cold. I'm gonna wear another layer. Sorry for the teasing the horse. There we go. Sorry for the color explosion. That's what I have here with me. There we go. Okay. So, horse. Oops, this thing keeps falling. I don't need it. Okay. So let's bring it over. I already have it. I don't remember. No, I don't. Okay. So we're gonna draw this one. Let's see. I really need to start closing some windows. So let's close the chicken. Let's close the doggo. Let's close and then we can just do some chatting after we're done with these examples. Let's close the otter. Utterly ridiculous. The deer. Man, we sketched a lot today. It's been 2 hours. Time does fly. Okay, so we're gonna bring this one here. So let me show you. This is a very unusual angle. So the first thing I notice here is how things are off center, once again, asymmetrical. That's a big part of the beauty. So notice how the horse's head really isn't in the center of the body. It's a little off center. So this, see this distance and that distance, we see more of this side of the body. So let's see what we can do here. Same kind of intuitive approach. I'm gonna create once again, a bit of an envelope here for the entirety of the head. Sorry, that's terrible. There we go. I don't know, maybe it includes the ears, maybe it doesn't. Haven't decided yet. Now you see we have these two sides. It's all two sides of the same horse. And then down here. So this is almost, because it's the shape of the horse, almost the rib cage. It's going to be something like this. I can get all of this done in almost one go. The general shape. Okay. Now, this leg is moving forward, and you can see, just like a human, this leg is forward and this one is at the back, right? So these are a couple of things we need to think about. This leg is, the base is here. So we have almost one here and another coming out from here, right? Now, there's a lot of nuances here talking about overlap. Look at this section. Overlap of the neck, body, and pelvis, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll get here, once again, the neck coming out from the head and almost connecting to this base of the leg. And then from here, the body and the rib cage, you can actually see the pattern of ribs almost, and the pelvis from behind. So when you notice all of these things, it's easier to draw because you saw them, right? So you get this kind of a thing here. Okay, so far so good. That looks pretty good. If you can notice these small nuances, it can really help. Next up, let's get the legs in. So I'm gonna wing the length here. So this leg comes from here. Now look at this muscular bit, goes kind of like this. See this here? And then the leg, this is almost a vertical line, and this is, again, asymmetry. Connects to, we have Ruth, we have a guest here, our own horse. Come here, our horse. Can you talk to the mic? Okay, be gone. Okay. That was a rather quick cameo. The dog that hates the camera. So let's see here. Everyone give their applause to Ruth. So yeah, now the other leg is behind here. So we'll get that too. That goes back to here. We're pretty accurate. You see it intersects with this rounded line. And then look at the base of the leg. This is super cool, the muscles. So this comes from here, wraps around. The muscles wrap around the leg and connect here. See this kind of a thing? And then that goes here. Then this, let me make sure the proportions make sense. I think they do. Maybe a little too long, but who cares? And then we have this knee here. But Adi, Ruth came to be with us on the sofa. And then this other leg, this other knee. And should be a bigger gap between them. So I think this should be curvier. And this should be thinner. Oops. This should be thinner. Something like that. And the other leg here from behind is kind of like this. Knee. It's all the same at the end of the day. We're just drawing the shapes as we see them. Ears are relatively small compared to the size of the head. We have the nice little mane here. Eyes somewhere here. And this kind of a gesture leading us to the front of the face. By the way, if there's one thing Ruth hates is horses. She really, really dislikes them. She barks at them at every opportunity and she thinks she has a chance against them. Not that she sees horses every day, but when she does, she hates them. But yeah, this pretty much is done to me. Um, I think that was quite fun, especially that part with the overlap here. Really important stuff. I hope that helps. Gina, I'm painting snow scenes with my new Paul Rubens paints. Oh, I love Paul Rubens paints. They're really good. I've been really enjoying them. Just hope you enjoyed this demo. Marjorie, many people I know have chickens. Some have the silkiest because they brood eggs well and give them chicks. Give them chicks? I mean, the chickens don't eat chicks, right? They breed them basically. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Sujanith, hi, Liron. Surprised to see you live. Wow, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm very grateful to you and everyone who is here. It's been a long drawing live stream. Anyone who missed anything so far, just feel free to watch it after the fact. I'm going to leave things up at the channel. Forgot the tail. I'm going to leave this live stream up, of course, in its entirety. I think there's some valuable lessons here. If you're curious about drawing and the approach. And a lot of it isn't really rules. It's more how can you see things in as accurate manner as possible. Let me switch over like this. How can you see things in the most accurate manner possible? And sometimes it can be a challenge. It definitely can. But slowly but surely you'll get it. You'll get there. Great to see you. Hope you're keeping well. Thank you so much, my friend. Yeah, thank you. And I believe you sent me a kind message too, so thank you for that. And yeah, I think this wraps it up. If you want to do like a final kind of discussion, I think that's enough. I drew so much, so I'm tired. I drew a lot today and painted too, so that was a tiring day creatively, but a good one. But yeah, I can definitely answer some questions and all of that good stuff. Josh, this makes me want to bring some pencils to the office. Yeah. When I was for about a year and something, I worked for a company, and I ended up sketching there a lot on my breaks. That was fun. Here, thank you for the suggestion. I know it's a bit of an unusual horse pose, but I hope it was helpful. I find sometimes that these more extreme examples end up being more beneficial in terms of learning from them. Sometimes they just they help you grow more. Now, if you notice, when Ruth stops barking, I wanted to show you one last thing. Look at how this muscle or whatever that is wraps around. So it goes like this, but then it goes around the other way, right? Because this leg, if you really focus and notice, see, all the legs are at the same height on the ground. What we're not seeing is leg, leg. I know it doesn't look like a leg, but leg, leg, and then another leg behind and another. So that would be if you're looking at it. Let's do a box horse. If you're looking at it from above, this is what you'll see, right? But if you're looking at it from the ground level, that's when you'll see all legs in the same height approximately, which means we're looking at it from a lower angle, which means we're looking up at pretty much everything. Okay, so even the head of the horse, if we were to wrap a rubber band around it, we'll get this. In fact, someone wrapped this thing around it, so we already see it. Same for these legs here, which is why this muscle that goes along the leg and then wraps around the other way and has some folds and creases in it. If you can notice and catch these things, you'll do really well. So imagine a cylinder like so that has a bit of an angle, right? And then the muscle comes from the top and then wraps around. And you get a very similar thing with human muscles, with the, what do you call them? Shoulder muscles. I keep forgetting, but it comes here and then it wraps around the arm. You get a very similar thing. And then the bicep comes around here and you see a bit of the tricep too. And that's the upper arm, and then you get the lower arm, something like that. But only it should go this way probably. Lower arm is my weak spot, but you see here, these are small details if you can catch will really help you. Oh, thank you so much, Sujanith. God bless you. Thank you so much, my friend. Really, really appreciate it. Really, thank you so much. Um, Marjorie, I'm hoping I feel well enough to watch next live stream. Hopefully, fully next watercolor. Yeah, definitely. The only problem with my watercolor setup is you can't see my face as I paint, but that's fine. I can do some FaceTime here, then go to the desk and show you the desk. Hopefully, you'll enjoy that as well. I can put a camera. It's a bit of a hassle, but I'll try. I'll try getting a camera there too, because it's still new here. I do have a very comfortable wide desk, but just I haven't placed everything the same way yet. So Jenny, thank you so much once again. Tiny Face McGee would love a part two where you watercolor these animals. Okay, cool. We can do a painting. Yep. So Jenny, hopefully there will be. I let me check. I think specifically next week. So specifically next week, there are a couple of things going on. A friend's birthday, and we have a holiday coming. But my plan is to go back to this as a routine. So you can expect, if not next week, the one after that. And maybe I'll do one. You know what? Maybe I'll do a live stream. I'll keep you updated. Maybe I'll just bring it back to Wednesday, because Thursday is a bit of a tricky day next week specifically. So maybe I'll do one Wednesday. I'll try doing one next week, but if not, definitely the week after, for sure. I want to go back to just routine every Thursday live stream. I missed those. It's been a tough time, honestly. It was a little hard. And art motivation came in strong fluctuations, but I decided it's time. It's time to go back to routine as much as possible, and I don't have to punish myself. Um, I really need to um, slowly go back to allowing myself to do everything. I've been painting a lot. I've been filming videos as usual, as you've seen. Hopefully, you found them useful. But just the live streams. I actually have been live streaming on a different platform, but it's more video games, stuff like that on Kick. If anyone's familiar with Kick, if you're already there, you can find me and follow me there. But not art related. Needed a bit of a break there. But yeah, I hope that helps. I have some nice shadows on my face. This is good for painting. As was asked before, yeah, I would. I think it was you, Tiny Face, right? I think. Forgive me if it was someone else. I would do this if I'm interested more in painting and just getting the shapes down. There's some interesting. You see some yellows, very muted yellows, and a bit of reds, and then a bit of violets and purples here that look really cool for painting. John, thank you for another great live stream. Liron, take care, my friend. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much, my friend. I've been getting a lot of updates about the painting I sent you, so it's keeping up. It actually works out this time properly. I got a message. I think that it left the country, so it's on a plane to you hopefully soon. Fernando, well, if we don't see you next week, happy Hanukkah. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the Fernanda. Sorry, I'm confused with Fernando from earlier. Thank you so much. Yeah, that would be, if I'm not mistaken, Thursday is the first evening, which is why we're gonna be with family. Let's actually check here. Feel free to ask any questions in the meantime, but I want to make sure. So yeah, Thursday is going to be the first night, and that's the main one, first evening, holiday evening. So yeah, that's probably why. I think I'll bring it, move it to Wednesday. That'll be best, I think. Daiji, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I honestly need a bit of a break, even though you haven't seen me here doing live streams. It's been a tough couple of weeks with the move here. It's been very hectic. So yeah, could use a bit of a break. I don't think, like, every weekend I want to just zone out a bit, and then every weekend we end up doing something. But this weekend, I think probably we'll finally have some rest. Tambo, you have to live the life you have been giving. Yeah, definitely, definitely. We had a leak from one of the pipes here down to the neighbors from under the apartment under, and it was a bit annoying because we expected everything in the apartment to work. So we ended up not being able to sleep here because we didn't have water. We had to close them off for 2 nights. So that's why last weekend that should have been resting wasn't resting. But yeah, hopefully now it will chill a bit. Yeah, Thank you, John. Yeah, soon, soon. I think you'll like it a lot. It's the I think it's not a secret. The Tbilisi painting I auctioned. John won, and let me tell you, this is one special painting. For me, it's definitely a special painting. Um, you'll see it in person. It's just a completely different experience. All paintings are like that, but this one even more. So, Janith, is this horse reference available? Definitely. Let me put it in the chat for now so you have quick access to it. But I will make sure to go back and edit the description to have, because I put in the description the pictures I prepared in advance. But the ones that I added now, I will put a link to them too. I will definitely will. Josh, actually, what games I streamed? Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. I wanted something that I can talk while I'm doing because I already finished it, so that it's easier to talk while I do it. But nothing like the popular games, not Fortnite or any of those. I also did some sketching streams there, but I think I'll do more games. It's just a bit less thinking. I can just play and stream while doing it. But I don't know if you have any recommendations. I'll definitely hear them. I am playing through Alan Wake, the first one, right now, because the story really grabbed me. I don't know if I want to stream it because I really want to focus. But one thing, I can stream a bunch of Call of Duties, the older ones especially. I don't know. I enjoy older games. And then also, which one was it? Oh yeah, Plague Tale. I finished a couple of months ago the second Plague Tale, and it has this mode where you finish the first game, you can start a new game with all the improvements you've had and continue from there. So I may do a rerun and then I may stream it. So that's kind of the general gist of it. It's a mix, but it's more of older games plus this Plague Tale is a little newer. Yeah. Thank you, Sujanith. Yeah, I will update the description so you'll have everything. Thank you so much, Nancy. Yeah, it's been a really fun. Tiny Face McGee, thank you for sharing your knowledge. You're a great teacher in watercolors. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you being here. Hopefully, we can go back to routine and doing more of these live streams consistently every week. I will try to, if one week doesn't work out, I'll try to change the day. But I hope you enjoyed the videos too in the meantime, because I tried being fairly consistent on that too. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Till next time, take care. Thank you. Yeah, that was fun. That was the most fun I had in a while. When it comes to drawing, especially. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you again real soon. Till next time, keep creating.